Hello and welcome to the Enduro World Series Show, the show that brings you the inside line on the best stories from all the Enduro World Series racing this year. This week we have plenty of action for you from the beautiful Italian Dolomites, where the racers have been battling it out at the EWS Val Di Fassa Trentino. We have our regular rider diary segment, where this week we caught up with one of the most liked riders in the EWS field, Santa Cruz rider Iago Garay, to give you an insider's look at what the life of an EWS racer really looks like. We'll also be talking to a couple of guys who have taken a rather alternative approach to their EWS season, riding between every round all the way from Scotland to right here in Italy, which is absolute madness. Before we get into all that, let's take a look back at how the season has progressed so far, who the movers and shakers are at the top of the rankings. The 2022 EWS has started with a bang, and the racing has been closer than ever. In the women's field, it was Ella Connolly who took first blood in the Tweed Valley, her first ever EWS win, and on home soil as well, making it just that little bit sweeter. She backed us up with a third place in Jamnica and was looking to be on a flyer this season, but unfortunately a crash in practice here in Val Di Fassa Trentino has ruled her out with a broken elbow. At round 2 at EWS Jamnica, it was Isabeau Cordurier who was able to make the most of the long stages to take both the win and the lead in the overall championship. A commanding performance from Isabeau was pretty ominous looking for the other riders heading into Val Di Fassa this weekend. Snapping on the heels of our two winners, we have a strong pro women's field chasing their slice of glory. Keep an eye on Morgan Schar and Bex Barona, who have been close behind and looking good this season. Our reigning overall champion Melanie Pujan has had a slow start to the year by her own high standards, but looks to be warming into it. Could this be the weekend we see her back at the sharp end? In the Pro Men's Series, it started off with a familiar looking state of affairs on the top step at round 1. Richie Rood took the first win in the Tweed Valley, redemption that must have felt good after his disqualification there at the end of last season. In Jamnica for round 2, it was Mr. Consistency, Jesse Melamed, who took the win after a 2-year hiatus from the top step. Jesse is looking fast this season, seriously fast, and it is starting to look like we have much more to come from him. Behind these two is a packed pro men's top 10 of talented riders to keep your eyes on. It was hometown hero Innes Graham who won the pro stage and finished third overall in the Tweed Valley. Can the local ripper replicate this kind of form on the road? Eddie Masters is another rider who has been consistently up there, and he now sits in third in the overall rankings. He's been racing smart and fast this year. A stage win on the monster 5.6km stage 5 in Jamnica means that the long, rough stages here in Val Di Fassa will be no problem for the Kiwi rider. Jack Moyer, our reigning overall champion, had started slowly. A shoulder injury in the off-season had pundits pondering if he could replicate last year's form. Only managing 26th in the Tweed Valley seemed to reinforce that belief. However, a podium in Jamnica proved that he is on the way back to the top step. Plenty of big names, all with a chance of taking top honours this week. One thing's for sure, we are in for some hard-fought racing across the beautiful scenery of the Italian Dolomites. What a start to the year we've had. The riders have been coming out swinging and really showing us what they've got. I, for one, can't wait to keep watching them battle it out for the rest of the season. Now it's time for what is fast becoming one of my favourite segments. It's Carlson on Course. We've set the big Australian loose this week at the top of the pro stage. He'll be taking a look at what the pro stage is and how important it is for the racers, as well as looking at the all-important line choice on track.
We're up here on the pro stage, the first stage of the EWS Val Di Fassa here in the Trentino region of the Dolomites in Italy. The pro stage is a one-stage race for Saturday, and it's a stage that has 25 points up for grabs in the overall point standing. Now this stage here, it's short, it's fast, it's furious, it's only 1.2k long. You might not necessarily win the race here, but you can definitely lose it. We're up here on the pro stage. We've just dropped in a little bit. Dan Booker, mate, what's the vibes up here today? What are you looking for?
Trying to carry speed through this bit. It's kind of flat and there's a few awkward little routes. Yeah, just trying to carry speed really is the main bit.
Flat pedals win medals. How's that going out there?
Hopefully, yeah. It's good up there. Maybe suffers a bit through this bit, but yeah, I think if you can pump through, try not to pedal too much, should be going good.
Do you and Sam compare pin heights and lengths?
Nah. Both on the same program, I think though.
Entrance to this. Whoa! Yeah, that's not what you want to happen.
Noga, what are you looking at up here? There's a bit going on in this little section. What are you chasing?
I'm chasing the safety.
The safety?
Actually, yes. I couldn't find it so far. It's for sure the hardest stage we had this year. Yeah. Very physical, a lot of routes, and I have no idea what to do here.
All right, we're down here on the lower part of the pro stage. It's definitely a bit slippy and there's a couple of big monster routes in this bottom bit. Now we're very close to the finish here. You want to maintain really good speed and momentum through these final few sections. And there's a couple of big maneuvers down here through these trees here. Jared Graves, what are we looking for here?
We're looking for good exit speed. There's a few different lines. People are either going straight through the middle and usually dropping low, or set up high, get down low and then cut across, and that's sort of looking pretty good on the exit for the flat straight after it. So it's like either go fast in and slow out, or slow in, fast out.
Is there a bit of a risk versus reward scenario here with this big tree root on that inside there?
Definitely some guys are trying to take it a little bit too quick. There's been a few hoo-ahs.
No sleeves, no worries for young Greg. What are you looking at here, bud?
Absolutely everything. I feel like I'm riding 6 feet and I have to stop and have a look at the next bit. It's a real tricky track. It's when you get it nice, it's good. When you don't, it really punishes you.
You think the slippery conditions and the overnight rain has made it a little bit more treacherous than it would have been otherwise?
Yeah, I think the routes will be slippy regardless because they're pretty fresh and it's quite slow. So you're not just like pinging across the routes and you're passing them, you're right on them. So if you do hit a route, it really throws you out.
How do you think you're going to be feeling at this stage? We're a few minutes in, we're just near the finish here. You think you're going to be a bit cooked at this stage, or you're going to be trying to suck it in the big ones?
Yeah, no, I think this one's going to be surprisingly hard because there's a new climb like quite near the top, and there's a lot of little sprints out of the corners. It's a real intense stage, so you'll definitely be on the rev limiter down here.
Wow, what a stage the Val Di Fassa Trentino region has served up for the pro stage here at round 3 of the Enduro World Series. There's plenty of routes, there's plenty of rocks, there's plenty of jank to keep the riders puzzling. They've been up there practicing all morning, so we're eager to see how the racing unfolds this afternoon on a fast and furious and violent little stage to kick off round 3.
Thanks, Josh. Great insights, as always, from out there on the stages. The life of an EWS racer can be a full-on experience, with races often back-to-back. The racers are straight on a plane or in the back of a van after the race and on to the next one. One rider who does it all in his own unique way is Iago Garay. Riding for the Santa Cruz SRAM, Iago is one of the most stylish riders both on and off the bike. He looks after his own race programme and makes sure to enjoy himself along the way. Let's take a look into the life of an EWS racer.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Iago Garay. I come from Spain and I ride the Enduro World Series for the Santa Cruz SRAM team. I've been racing the Enduro World Series since it started in 2013. It's been almost 10 years, so it's been a hell of a trip. Hey, you do a cool trick, okay? Yeah! Sorry about that. I raced downhill until I was probably 21 years old or something like that. And then that's when the Enduro World Series started. Tried it, it was pretty good. And then somehow Santa Cruz liked what I was doing and started supporting me to race the EWS. Pretty unique team. It's very different to other factory teams you see around here. You know, they allowed us to choose some of our own personal sponsors like clothing and stuff, but they provide us with like a full bike. This year we have a different setup. We're traveling by ourselves, but we get all the help we need with like the parts we need and, you know, like nice accommodation and ways to get to the races. So it's really nice and gives us some freedom to do what we want. Some of the factory teams here have a lot of staff, have more people helping in. So they will have like probably a physio, a road manager that plans everything for them, someone that buys or cooks the food. They'll have mechanics that takes care of the bike. My setup right now is just, I'm doing all those roles. I call this the Spanish wash. In Spain during the summer, it never rains, it's only dusty. So whenever you're in for like 5 or 6 days and there's enough dust there to make it kind of look dirty, you just get a rug out and give it a little wipe. It's pretty good today. Like it was so loamy. It's good that there wasn't any mud around. And now I'm saving some time going to standing in the queue for the pressure wash. It's really nice because, you know, I get to travel with my girlfriend. She's also racing, and it gives us the opportunity to, you know, decide when we're going to be at a race or where we want to stay, what we want to do, or if we want to like travel with friends or something. It's a bit more flexibility.
Quick stop at Decathlon, get some walking poles for track walk, and what's going on there? Broke it. We made it. She packed.
There's some stuff in here.
Just out for a track walk, have a look at some lines.
Yeah, when we have back-to-back races, it's always a bit of a scramble to get from one to the other, right? So you're super tired from the racing and you have to pack up to leave your accommodation really early, but usually you just chuck everything in the car and then try to get to the next accommodation. And then Mondays are, you know, with the travel and the race is a bit exhausting, but then luckily we have a couple of days. So on Tuesday, I'll, you know, try to like go over the bike, clean it, fix whatever it's not working properly, catch up on, you know, emails or anything you need to do. So I guess I'm a pro athlete, but I have my own company called Diet Bro, and we make frame protectors. I'm in charge of a little bit of the marketing and creative side of things. So working with brands to make collaborations with them or coming up with new design ideas. There's a lot of like work in between the actual work, but it's something very exciting, you know, when you go around the world and you see someone with that has bought something that you've created and you've made and you've shipped them across the world. Like, it's always such a rewarding experience. It's probably a really good retirement plan. So I hope that one day, if I decide to stop racing, I'll have Diet Bro there for me.
Past that, I just couldn't find that mental space today. Like, you know, it's the third race in a row pretty much and fatigue's kicking in, so looking forward to get back home, recover, and a couple more weeks of training before the next round.
Thanks, Iago, for sharing some behind the scenes with us there. He obviously has a pretty red hot washing machine to handle that white kit too. It's a fairly bold move. Now, without making you wait any longer, let's get into it now, shall we, and see how the racing played out here for the pro men and pro women at the EWS Val Di Fassa Trentino. 42 kilometres of racing this weekend, some absolute belters off stages, and they culminated with the biggest. Tutti Frutti awaited at the end of the day as one of the most iconic tests in modern enduro racing. Saturday's pro stage kicked the weekend's racing off and set the scene perfectly. Isabelle Corderie, the winner of the previous round, kicked things off with a win. Ibis's Rafaela Richter was second, and the Rocky Mountain race face rider Adriana Lanfia-Nadeau was third. Richie Rude, tied on points with Jessie Melamed on the way into this one, emerged with a handful more. Rude imperious and hunting down a third EWS overall title. But Jessie wasn't far behind. The Canadian champ was just a handful of seconds behind Rude and looking sharp, as was Slavomir Lukasic. The big Pole put down a stellar run to claim third. Morgan Schär had ridden her way to fourth on the pro stage, but started off day 2 by going faster again. She was second on stage 2, Titans. The sun came out on Sunday morning, and given that she was at a bike race and had a number on her back, Isabelle Corderie decided to get down to business. She was fastest by a crushing 8 seconds. Sunday did not get off to a good start for Richie Rude. Although third on the stage, he had been down a crash right at the start of the day. Eddie Masters, third in the standings as we arrived in Italy, rode well to take the second fastest time on the stage. But there was no catching Melamed. Jessie started the day in fine form. He took the win on Titans by a commanding 6 seconds, which put him into the lead of the race. Messadots was the third stage, the second longest of the day, at 3.5 kilometres in length. Isabelle Corderie won the stage by 6 seconds. Her lead was now 26 seconds in the overall, from Morgan Schär and Harnden 33 seconds back. Martin Mays was also pushing hard and was now in range of Eddie Masters' third position. Melamed took the win on the third stage by just over a second from the Yeti rider. The penultimate stage beckoned, and it was the fast and crater-filled Glue Vine. Rafaela Richter was in third place, keen to prove that her initial pace in the Dolomites was no flash in the pan. That moved her up into a podium position with 1 stage to go. Second on the stage was the enigma Melanie Poujan. When fully in her stride last season, the Frenchwoman was unbeatable, but in 2022, she was still hunting for her first stage win. She came close to getting it on this one, but the as yet undefeated Corderie took yet another stage victory on 4. The race leader Jessie Melamed finished the 4th stage in third. After a virtually faultless morning, his lead was slashed by 3.6 seconds. Eddie Masters continued to be the only racer seemingly capable of living with the pace of the 2 leaders, and separated them to finish second on 4. Rude won the stage. He wasn't in the lead, but he had reined Melamed in. Only a second now separated them. Once again, the plunge from the ridge to Cannatsai Town Centre would settle things. It would be heartbreak for Rafaela Richter. Tutti Frutti takes no prisoners, and the German rider's hopes were dashed by a front puncture. She was out of contention and would be forced to finish the day in 8th. Richter's ruin was Harnden's gain. Trek's British star would collect third after a consistent day at the office. She also took home some all-important Queen Stage points by winning the toughest test of the weekend. But taking the win in no uncertain terms was Isabelle Corderie. The Lapierre Zip Collective racer had dominated in the Dolomites and took her second victory of the year. Eddie Masters looked fast from the moment his bike crossed the start line on Saturday, and the Kiwi, who tasted EWS victory back in Les Ors in 2019, slotted home in third on the Queen Stage to take third in the overall. All eyes were once again on the clock, with only 2 riders left to go. Jessie Melamed had barely put a wheel wrong all weekend. His racing has become measured, precise and deadly accurate. He beat Richie Rude fair and square on the Monster final stage at the previous round in Austria and Slovenia, but he just couldn't do it again in Italy. Richie Rude had crashed early on Sunday, and it had woken something up in the big American. He had clawed back Melamed's lead piece by piece, and on the final stage he had managed to summon up the knockout blow. Richie won the stage by 6.6 seconds and took the win. Here are the confirmed results then. Isabelle Corderie takes her second victory of the season. Schär and Harnden are second and third respectively, and Adriana Lanfia-Nadeau put together a fantastic late charge to climb her way up to 4th. Richie Rude takes the win for Yeti Fox. Jessie Melamed took second. He'll have been disappointed, but leaves with a boatload of points to console himself with. Third place went to Eddie Masters of Pivot Factory Racing. Isabelle Corderie leads the way in the pro women's overall then. Morgan Schär is second. The pairing of Rude and Melamed arrived in Trentino locked together in the points, and after a battle in the Dolomites, it is the American who now has the yellow overall points leaders race plate. And in the Teams Championship, Pivot Factory Racing remain the class of the field at the top of the table. Well, what a race we have just witnessed here at the EWS Val Di Fassa Trentino. The racers have returned to the pits. It's time for them to catch their breath and to unwind after a busy weekend of racing. But we can't let them fully relax. Carlson's heading their way.
Well, there you have it, trendsetters. Just wrapped up a huge day of racing here in the Val Di Fassa Trentino mountains. The stages were long, they were physical, they were hard, the heat was up there and the racing was fire all day. So let's have a little walk through the pits and see what we can find and have a chat about their race day. Number one team here, Pivot Factory Racing. Look at you guys go. Congratulations. How was it?
Yeah, thank you. That was a pretty big day, but yeah, fun and happy to be leading the teams.
Yeah, true story, mate. Eddie up on the podium. What a fantastic run. Congrats, bud.
Oh, mate, I'm actually so stoked. Like, it's been 2 years of hard graft and injuries and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, if I didn't question whether I'd ever get back on the box.
Yeah.
The front boys are running pretty hot pace. And
You are one of those front boys. You were fourth last weekend.
I know, but like it's been a long road to get back to there. So I ran a great race today for me.
Yeah.
Consistent stages, and I'm stoked. Look at me, mate.
I know, look at you. You're glistening, hey? That's not champagne, trendsetters.
The Bondi Sands, this Kenazai sun. Yeah, we're glowing, and we've just got such a good vibe.
Do you get to enjoy this moment, Eddie, or are you just like straight back on the horse?
No way, man. I'm on a no bikes vacay from today till next Sunday. The two-wheel machine can just like piss off.
What a fantastic result again.
Yeah, I'm super happy. I honestly just had a good day, like everyone asked me, but I just went on and had a good day. It was like sun was shining, the Italians were out there like screaming for us, and it was such a good vibes.
The level has lifted so much in this 2022 series. What are you doing to adapt to this new level?
I'm just trying to focus on myself and focus on my riding and do like the best I can. I'm never checking the result, for example, or anything like that. So it's just me, my bike, and we go out and we ride. If it's working, it's working. If it's not, then it's okay. We can try next time. So I think focusing on me this season is helping me to get pressure off and just riding like I can.
Mate, what's going on here? Tim, you're a bit tired there, bud.
It's day. I'm
Richie Rood, ladies and gentlemen, another epic battle this weekend with Jesse Millimed. Came down to the final stage. I think there was a second between it. Did you know that going into the final stage?
I actually thought it was like 5 seconds. So like the pressure was on for sure. And the only option I gave myself was to pin it or get second place. So
if you knew it was 1 second, would it have changed your mind or would it have been the same thing regardless?
I feel like it would have been a little more stressful because I feel like the 5 second gap was like all or nothing. Right. And then the 1 second would have been like, all right, like ride consistent, maybe you'll beat him. But he was riding good all day, so like would have been tough no matter what. But for sure, I was like 5 seconds, all right, I just had to go hard on all the climbs and just see if I could hold on.
Ella, mate, what happened? You had a bit of a hugie, it looks like.
Yeah, just on one of the slippy stages in practice, like over the bars, arm out, and broke my elbow. It sucks a lot.
What is the process here? We talking weeks, months, days?
I've been told 4 weeks in a cast, but I'm going to see another specialist next week, and I think we'll be able to cut that down a bit, and then just a heap of physio, and I'll be back on my bike as soon as possible, but just going to take it day by day and see when that is. Yeah.
Have you got a goal in mind? Are you looking to Whistler? Are you looking to Crans Montana? Or what is going on in there?
Oh, I don't know whether to put too much pressure on a race. Like I want to come back when I'm really strong and not just when I can ride. Like I want to come back and do well.
Kev, how'd you go, mate? What a pretty good comeback. You've been on a bit of a tear the last couple of weekends.
Yeah, mate, it wasn't bad. Like, just didn't have it today.
What was the hardest part of this weekend?
That pro stage cooked me yesterday, and then...
It seems to be a common theme. A lot of people are cooked after this pro stage. It's only 3 minutes. Hey?
Yeah, but it was real physical, mate.
It looks super gnarly up there.
The motors on our bikes.
Oh. There was a lot of racing. I mean, we had multiple 7-minute stages plus that 12, 13-minute monster to finish.
Yeah, and I liked the long stages, so I was excited for today, but when I just went to give it the berries, there was no berries to give.
Well, there you go, trendsetters. Round 3 in the Val Di Fassa Trentino region has delivered a monster race for our athletes in the men and the women's field. What's some of the tightest racing we've ever seen on these monster stages here in the Dolomites. The party is well and truly kicking off behind us. We're going to go and catch up with Rick to have a bit of a deep dive into the analysis of this race and see exactly how and who and what went down over this monster 5-stage event here in the Val Di Fassa Trentino round of the Enduro World Series.
Well, the pit party is kicking off behind us, Josh. I'm partly blaming you for what's going on down there, but let's talk about Jesse and Richie. I mean, if you're Jesse tonight, second place, are you happy with the points in the bag, or is it an opportunity missed?
I'm sure it stings coming off such a high and a relief of winning last weekend in Petsen, but it might be a blessing in disguise. I think Jesse's going to go into this break leading into his home race, his biggest race of the year, with that fire well and truly lit. If he came here and won again, there's a chance he may have been a little bit complacent, maybe not trained quite so hard, whereas now, he'll be firing coming into Whistler, and all the pressure will be on his shoulders coming into Whistler like we've never seen before.
Well, we saw that last season, didn't we? We really saw the championship was basically like a big enduro race, and that as long as Jack, it was then, and Richie were close together, they were both happy because they both knew that the points were sort of equal. But let's talk about Isabeau. What another commanding performance. 2 races in a row. She's untouchable at the minute, isn't she?
The level that the women's racing has lifted to this year in 2022, and for her to come out with such a dominant performance again, it's impressive to see, and you can see how much fun she's having with it. You know, she's mentioned it in her interviews over the weekend, over the last couple of weeks. She's enjoying riding her bike. She's having fun racing. She's had those most epic achievements of podiums, and it's just taken all the pressure off her shoulders. And now we're seeing a free, relaxed, and comfortable Isabeau ride. And look at the results. They speak for themselves.
We talked about the great. Let's talk about the not so great. Another weekend goes past where it feels like the race has walked past Melanie Poujon.
That's right, the defending champ. She's come off a huge high last year, and maybe something happened in Scotland when she hit the ground on stage 2. That was a massive impact that not too many people saw, so there could be something lingering there, and we've been on the road for a couple of weeks now, but North America is different. It's got its different animals over there. There's a whole different field of women racers that are going to challenge all of the Euros, so anything can happen, and maybe she's just playing her cards, keeping her cards close to her chest and going to bring him out later in the year.
We need to talk as well about the heartbreak for Rafaela Richter as well. Like, a podium spot once again was in her grasp, and that puncture, Tutti Frutti, doesn't take any prisoners.
That's right, and it's another weekend where she's had a bit of a lackluster result, but she had all the pieces there, which has to be confidence inspiring for that Ibis team.
Few newer names as well in the top 10s as well. Alex Rideau, Reese Werner. How much did they impress you this weekend?
Massively. The fact that Reese has come away with another great result, 2 weekends in a row, it's really boding well for the rest of his season.
Pro Women's Championship rider to beat has to be Isabeau Courdurier. But in your opinion, can anyone get near Jesse and Richie for the men's?
Well, I'm very curious to see how Martin Mays attacks this second block. Jack Moyer's been doing a lot of fiddling as well, and he's about to go into this next block home to get that training that he's been missing at the start of the season. Martin's moved on to a new team. They've been puzzling with their bike as well. He may not have come into the season quite as hot as he was expecting, but we have enough time here for those athletes to reassess the training, put in the work, and come into the second half of the season swinging.
Well, disappointing that we're heading into a bit of a break now. We've just got going, but we get to come back with one of the most iconic rounds of mountain bike racing, the EWS in Whistler. You used to live there. You nearly won it one year. What's so special about that place? What have we got to look forward to?
Well, I think just being in Whistler, it's got a similar vibe here to Trentino and the Dolomites. It's just epic. It's got a vibe to it. The mountains are massive. The stages are epic. And they're what we've all read about in the magazines and online for years. The deep dark loam, the roots, the rocks, the speed, the famous bike park. I mean, that top of the world stage is one of the most iconic stages in the world. It's over 20 minutes worth of racing. It's provided some of the best racing we've ever seen in the whole history of the EWS, and to have that to kickstart our second block of the racing, it takes a lot to win there. And it's different to Europe, but the speed, I think, is what takes a lot of riders back. It's really, really fast when we get to North America, and I cannot wait to see how this battle unfolds.
Plenty more to look forward to with EWS Whistler. Now, as if enduro racing isn't hard enough, there are 2 young men who have decided to make it that little bit trickier for themselves.
My name's Eric Olson. I'm 23 years old from Bellingham, Washington, USA.
Yeah, my name's Dan Pro. I turned 32 3 days ago, and I live in Bellingham and have gotten to know Eric over the last few years through mountain biking.
I qualified this year for my first time for Pro Enduro World Series. So we decided to do a bit of a bike tour between the first 3 rounds of the Enduro World Series. So we're calling it the Tour de EWS.
At some point you mentioned that you were trying to find someone to go film with you. You know, I have rough experience and know how to do that, so I said, sure, go for it. That sounds like a cool adventure. So we flew into Heathrow, took a train from London to Edinburgh, biked to Tweed Valley for the race, biked back to Edinburgh, train back to King's Cross, then we biked down to Brighton, took a ferry to Dieppe, France, and then primarily took trains with a little bit of biking around to get places.
And then used a mix of public transport and pedal power to Austria for the second round. And then hit the road again onto Canazai for the third round in Italy.
One of the biggest reasons why I was like, this is a cool project, is that you are raising funds for World Bicycle Relief through this and raising awareness for that so people can donate. And that's a nonprofit that helps get bicycles to people in parts of the world where transportation is limited and where it affords them a way to go places.
I really wanted to be self-supported, and my original plan was to just ride these knobby tires for the entire race. But enough people convinced me that I needed to run slick tires that I somehow decided the best solution was then to have the whole knobby tire wheel set on my back.
So not even just the knobby tires, but a whole secondary wheel set.
Yeah. Traveling through Europe with a bike and all your clothes on your back and stuff like that is totally doable. You just have to like try and keep a positive attitude and just like roll with the punches, I think.
How was your journey over to Val Di Fassa?
Yeah, it was good. It was a pretty full-on sort of 3.5 days because we left Sunday after these boys raced. Rode about 2 hours to Klagenfurt.
So we had 2 Americans, which was us, and then 2 Kiwis. We had Matt Fairbrother, who rode between the last 2 races as well, and then his friend Lucas Walsh. 2 Kiwis, 2 Americans taking on the Dolomites. The profile was like all flat for the first like 200K.
Yeah.
And then just these big mountain passes. So we ended up in like golf ball size hail that day, which was one of the crazier things that's ever happened.
And then
we were a motley crew of like bandages, and like my hands have huge blisters, and like, but we just kept trucking. We got some bruises from big hail, and then we kept going, made it to the Dolomites, and then hit the mountains.
For the next 2 days?
Yeah, for the next 2 days we were just hitting big mountain passes. Will be the Whistler EWS. And then the plan is to make it over to the East Coast as well. And I think I want to ride between those 2 races too. Or we'll just disappear off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Because we've worn ourselves out.
Yep.
Thanks everyone for joining us here for all the action at the EWS Val Di Fassa Trentino. We'll be back next week from Valberg in France, where we will have our very first standalone EWS e-race. For our EWS racers though, they now have a short break before we head back to the famous Whistler Bike Park at the beginning of August. It's been a 3-year hiatus for us, and I know plenty of riders will be excited to return to this famous location. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next week.